Hey everybody, welcome to a new week. Well, today we're going to paint a giraffe. I think you've seen the picture. If you're on Facebook Live, you're looking at what we're going to do. Hopefully everybody was able to trace their giraffe or copy it, or some people are doing it freehand. That's so great. This giraffe, I thought it was so cute. I found something close to it on Etsy. The lady's name is Happy Elephant. Well, that's probably not her name. That's her store name. Anyway, she had something similar, and I kind of adapted it. So I wanted to give her a shout out because it is kind of her idea. So we're going to get started pretty soon. I want to tell you real quick about other opportunities. This Wednesday, we're going to do a painting party in the evening at 7 o'clock on Wednesday through Zoom. And so that'll be like a more interactive where I can see you. And that is a $25 painting party. So grab your wine, make some art together. This is the painting we'll be doing. You see that? And you can sign up on patreon.com. The link is on my website or on my Facebook. So you'll be able to find that real easily. There in that post about that painting, there are links to supplies that you will need for that. So you'll need a canvas and paint and brushes, basically. I did put a link to this paint set. It's a $20 paint set, and it's 24 colors. They're acrylic paints. So this will get you far. You're going to be able to make several paintings with this. So Amazon has great stuff. You can always go to Michael's and get several of these kinds of things are available at Michael's as well, and canvases. At Michael's, I know when I usually buy canvases for parties, they used to have big packs, but now they have 5 or 6 in a pack for like 20 bucks. So it ends up being maybe $4 for the canvas. Anyway, those are some tips. If you're interested in doing the large painting with me, we're going to do that once a month, and you can, again, sign up for that on patreon.com. What else do we have? So if everybody's ready, if you want to look through your supplies and make sure you have everything you're going to need. A lot of you are going to use these watercolors. Great. You'll need a watercolor paintbrush or any other paintbrush you have. You know, we are not picky around here. These are just easier to use because they have a tip on them, and they have just the right amount of water availability, like available space for water, you know, but you don't have to. You need a pencil. I'm going to use a white paint pen today. You might need to find a little bit of white paint somewhere in your house, or maybe white out, or use one of these pens, because there is a little, some of the parts on the eyes we're going to need to have white. It's hard to keep those little spots white just when you're painting around a spot. We could try that too. We'll work on that. And then I'm going to use a little tiny Sharpie, a little thin Sharpie. You can use a pen. You can use a marker of any kind. So, but we will probably need to use a black pen. So those are the things you'll need for today. Okay, you'll need water. Water is the most essential paint for watercolor painting. You'll need your outline and your paints. Again, I'm using these paints. It's Master's Touch travel pack, I think it's called. I think we'll put the link in the comments below. Anyway, let's get started painting. What a cute little giraffe he is, isn't he? He's just so fun. Now, some of the other paintings we've done the last few days have been just a few colors, not a lot of color variation, maybe 3 or 4 colors. This one obviously has a lot of colors. We're going to run the gamut today. This painting also is not going to be as precise as the last few. The last few we've done, we've needed to be very precise about where lines are and things like that. Here, this is going to be an exercise in blending and in allowing colors to make shapes without making shapes with lines. We'll get to it. I know it looks a little daunting, but you can do it, I promise, okay? So, what we've been doing the last few days, if you don't have your outline, I'll go through with you real quickly, and you'll be able to draw the outline freehand. This painting takes up the whole paper. His little antlers get cut off, his ears cut off. We just wanted to be close up into his face. So let's start with this little spot right here. This is a little shape, a U shape, from the very top of the page in the middle down maybe at 2 inches. And it's about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch wide, okay? And again, when you're making something that's from nature, a lot of times we in our human brains want to make everything linear and very straight. In nature, a lot of things are a little wiggly. They're not exactly straight. So don't worry about making these lines straight. Just kind of make a U. Now about 1 inch over, you're going to make the other antler side of this antler and come down and make a J shape. See that? Just barely. You're not going to bring it up over, but right there. So you'll be about 2 inches away from the edge of your paper. The ear is going to start right in the middle of that J and come up to the outside of the paper, and from the bottom of this J out to the back side of the paper down here, okay? This little spot is important because his head otherwise will look like it's very misshapen. So this little guy is a little U shape to show that his ear continues here. It attaches to his head right there, okay? I'm going to do the same thing on this side, okay? I'm not going to redo that. If you would like to continue to freehand, you can pause this recording and finish up your drawing of those. We'll move on for the rest of it, but finish that part up and then hit play again and you can continue with us, okay? For the bottom part, we're going to go down by the eye. This part, this J here, we're going to come down around and stop about 1/2 inch down. This is sort of like an oval. You can put an oval here and then just kind of sharpen that edge so that this shape here is a little bit rounded and his eye is shaped, okay? This part of his face is going to come out from the eyeball a tiny bit right here and come down about 3/4, 2/3 of the way down the paper. Okay, this shape is basically a circle. It's kind of a lopsided square, actually, if I think about it. A square diamond shape. See that? If you turn the diamond shape this way, we'll just do this part of the diamond and then come up on the edges there for his nose shape. Okay? Now, if you printed this outline out, I put these nostrils were a little off center, a little wonky. Yeah, you can see that there. They're not perfect. So I messed around with them and made them a little more straight this time. But this is like a teardrop shape. They're going to point toward each other at the bottom a little bit. And then about halfway down this side of this diamond shape, we're going to make his neck. And I'll go all the way down to the bottom. Okay? Nice slope. Not too straight. Okay? Same thing happens on this side. His little eyelashes, we didn't talk about that. And his eyebrows, his eyelids, they have a little bit, some lines. Maybe a little line under his eye. Okay? He looks a little like a zombie. A zombie giraffe before we put the color on, doesn't he? It's like the empty eyes. All right. So let's start painting. This is the fun part, right? Excuse me. All right, we're going to take our paintbrush and we're going to get it wet. Now this painting we're going to do mostly on dry paper. The last few we've been wetting our paper first and then putting the color on. This time we're going to mostly use a wet brush on dry paper. Okay, now if you look at the painting, let's look before we start painting. You'll notice that we have pools of color, and those pools of color make the shape pop out at you. There aren't any lines that we're looking at, you know, down underneath there's those pencil lines, but what's making the shape is the color, is the pool of color. So we're going to go color by color, and we're going to put in pools of color to make the shape. Okay, I'm going to start with this orangish color, orangish brown. Now this painting is one that you can just use whatever colors you really want to. Obviously this is not how a giraffe really looks, right? So you use whichever colors you're feeling. I'm going to tell you which colors I'm using, but you can work with whatever you want. I'm going to start in with this brownish orange color that's around his nose, okay? So, going in with a wet brush, I'm going to go in with this brownish orange color. And I'm going to start putting color on his nose area. I'm going to outline that space. I'm going to, little by little, add color. Now, I'm not going to fill it all in because we're going to put other colors in there. But for now, I'm just going to define the space with that color. Okay? Do you have any questions yet, babe?
Now everyone seems to be just
Painting along. Oh, good. All right. Now I'm going to continue with that orange color, orangish brown, and I'm going to look for other places that I have that color. So along his neck here, ooh, that's darker than I expected. I'm going to add some water to it. This is going to be a different giraffe. Like I've told you every time, no matter what, even if you try to make exactly the same thing twice, you barely can. So my giraffe is going to look different from the giraffe I made a couple days ago. Your giraffe is going to look different from mine. We're all going to have different ones because we're looking through different eyes. We're looking through different experience. And our technique is different. Our brush strokes are different. Our paints are different. Our paper is different. And that's a good thing. We are not the same. So comparison is not a good thing either. If you know that you're different on purpose, then comparing with someone else or what you think you should be is a thief of joy. So we're not going to compare. I'm not even going to compare with what I did the other day. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more in here. All right. Where else do I have this color? Have it up here. I have some on his ear. We're just defining some of the spaces here. Pools of color. Sometimes it's harder when things aren't defined, isn't it? It's easier when somebody just tells you exactly what to do, and there's lines that you can stay within. Give me a rule and I can stay within that rule, right? But sometimes, especially as you grow up, you have to start learning how to think and do things that aren't totally defined, and that's okay. That's how we get new things. All right. There's a lot of that color We might go in later with a little more. Okay, but I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to go in with yellow. Yellow, I'm getting my brush wet. I'm going to get some yellow. And I'm going to put some yellow. His cheeks are kind of yellow. There's a little bit down here. This is nice and free flow. Free flow. Let yourself feel and think about what do I want? Where do I think I want this color to be? Ask your creativity. What's the next thing I should do? Just flow with that. There's not a right or wrong answer in art. Sometimes there's right and wrong answers, but not usually in art. Okay. I'm going to put a little more yellow over here, up in his ear, along here, on this part of his ear. Now, don't be afraid to let the different colors blend together as you're putting them down. Remember, that's the cool thing about watercolors is they blend so nicely. But you can't always control how they're blending, so just let that happen and practice being okay with less control than you're used to having. It's a big lesson to learn, isn't it?
It's so hard.
It is so hard. Okay. I'm thinking I have a lot of orange and yellow now. Now for the fun part. These are cool. These are warm colors. We're going to move in and we're going to put cool colors in. Now, cool colors are everybody knows.
Cool kids.
The cool kids use blues, greens, right? So when you put a cool color right next to a warm color, there's a lot of contrast. Okay, so you'll notice on his cheeks here we have some bluish green. That's my favorite color. And I have it up here. But you'll notice that this part looks like it's popped out more. This part looks like it's maybe receding a little bit because it's a contrast in warm and cool colors. So we're going to go in with that blue color. So whatever teal kind of color you have, you go in there. And we're going to let that blend with the yellow, and which will cause what? Blue and yellow make green, right? So we'll just let that become a little blob. And along his face, we will have some defining, a definite line there. Okay? We've got his face going. Add some water in there. See how it's not a circle, it's not a square, it's not this is not a shape, it is just a blob of color. So we're defining the shapes of his face with color. So we're going to go back in and do the same thing on this side of the cheek. Let the water just blend it around. Okay. We're going to put more of that color down here. Let this be nice and blotchy. The tendency for this painting is going to be to want to fill in the whole of a space like a coloring book. So coloring his whole neck one color with an orange stripe. But right now what we're really wanting to do is allow the color to pool and make its own interesting dynamic without controlling it and making it a solid color. Okay? Kind of like that. if we color it in, it just will, it will look more like a cartoon than it does this ethereal looking thing. I'm going to put a little bit of blue down by his nose just because I think tying that color in will be kind of cool. And then we're going to put some on his forehead. I'm going to let that be, this part be nice and blue. I'm going to color that line right there a little more defined. Okay. I'm going to put more blue in there. As it dries, you're going to see that it starts lightening up, and that's okay. You just, if you want more color in there, just go back in. Put some more on. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave that color for a while and let it dry. You'll notice that I put little dots. They look almost like little freckles on his cheeks. I did use a darker blue color for that, but I waited until the lighter blue is kind of dry. So let's just leave this here right now. Okay. All right. Now let's see what other color. Let's do purple. I'm gonna do purple. Get my paintbrush wet. Go in with my purple. Now this is going to be a fun color. It's going to be a whole different feeling to the painting. It's another cool color. Just let that float around wherever you feel like there's, I'm filling in kind of the spaces that have been left from the other colors that I put down. Letting the purple kind of fill in. Each color is kind of filling in spaces that were left from the other colors. I'm going to bring that purple down into his nose area and put another layer of color over the orange. A little purple over here. A little purple on his ear over here. This is definitely a level up from our bumblebee. So if you're having a little bit of a crisis and you're feeling like you're not being able to control this as well as you would like to, please don't freak out, okay? Every painting I've ever done, I've looked at it in the middle of the painting and thought, whoa, this is not good. I've thought, what am I doing? I don't even think I know how to paint. But it's not true.
I've learned to not make comments in that phase.
Yes, that's good. That's so good, right? That's a good
What you working on there, babe?
oh, I just started doing things, huh? I was thinking that is a good, not commenting when you're feeling stressed is probably one of those good life tools, right? I was just listening to a lady named Hillary McBride. She's a psychologist. And she was talking about how right now we have a lot of emotion going on. It's a stressful time. I mean, world pandemics and things. And she was saying that, emotion is important to express. But in order to do that in a healthy way, you need to be aware of what that emotion is and allow it to come out in good ways rather than self-destructive ways. So naming an emotion, like I'm really frustrated by this right now. That's good. That's okay. You can walk away, you can move on, but to continue to put yourself down is not a good thing. To blame yourself, to get angry, it's not going to be good. In your body, it doesn't feel good, and it can kind of lodge in your body. So something she was saying that is important to, I think, for us to know right now. I listened to her this weekend and I used her advice. She was saying that in our bodies, we need to discharge that emotion. As if we don't let that emotion out in a healthy way, then it's just going to lodge in there. So she was saying, you know, physical exercise, dancing, and doing art is something that she mentioned. I thought that was kind of cool. Getting to a place where you can just emote and put something down on paper and focus on it and let it out on the paper. That's a good way to discharge some negative emotions we might be having right now. Anyway, a little tidbit. Okay. Purple. My purple has gotten pretty light here. I'm going to probably go in later and put some more color in there. But I'm going to move on to a red color, reddish orange. Okay, like a darker orange than what I had. We used that brown color, but I'm going to use a darker red orange. Let me see if I can find it here. There we go. And I'm going to go in and put that up in here. And I'm going to put it in his nose here, this nose area. I've noticed each day when I'm painting with you guys, my paintings end up being a lot brighter and cheerier than when I do them by myself. I wonder what that's what that's about. The colors that end up being brighter, I don't know. I'm choosing different colors. Okay. So I'm going to define the area around his nostrils here a little bit more than what I did earlier. I'm going to use a little bit of purple, a little darker color, a little bit of orange. This is just a fun, free-flowy one, so I like it. Can't wait to see all of yours. It's going to be fun. Okay. What else do we need? It's looking pretty good, you guys. I think I'm going to go in with a little bit more of that orangish brown color that we started with. And I'm going to fill in some of the spots because I think the orangish brown is kind of the natural color that this giraffe would be, kind of an orangey brown color. So maybe I'll have that be kind of the base color and go in with some of that around his eyes here. A little bit more down. This area here is the area where we're going to put the most paint just because that's the farthest most, closest area we're going to have on his face. Oh yeah, he's so much more bright than my last one. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with a little bit of yellow and let it mix around. I feel like yellow is the lightest color. And sometimes if you're feeling like you want to go in and meld some colors together. Yellow is sometimes a good one because it will go over a color and it will tint it, but it won't take over like a black or an orange or a brown color. You see how I'm doing that? See how it kind of melds the colors a little bit, but it has its own color.
Asking what number is your brush?
The number 8. That's the number 8. Oh, you guys, I could just sit here and not talk for hours and hours, but I find myself forgetting to say things. Just going in, putting color over. Over some of the other colors, some yellow, mixing it in. Okay. Remember I said we're going to go in with a darker blue to make the freckles. So I'm going to go in with just a little slightly darker blue. If you have 2 different colors of blue, go for that, you know. And some of these you have, see here, this one has many different colors of blue. I think we'd probably be using this one. This color is similar to what I've got. But you could go in with one of these colors, just a more like royal blue color, or you could even do a green. You can feel that out. But I'm going to allow my brush to be quite wet, and I'm going to go in and just put some dots. Now those are too stark, so I'm going to go in with more water and just let them blend around. Okay, let them seep into the water, blend with the colors around them. Okay, how's everybody feeling? All right, I'm going to go in with a brown color to do some shading. So whenever you're looking at a painting, whenever you're getting ready to make a painting, you want to think about where the light is coming from, what's going to be the closest thing, that'll be the brightest, and what's going to be hidden a little bit, and the shading will happen in the shadows. So we don't need to have dark shadows on this painting, but we do need to have a little bit of brown. And I'm going to put it under his chin here, because his nose would be coming out and the light would be blocked a little bit. So I'm going to put brown just on the corner over here. And maybe over here. And let it come down the sides a little bit. Just nice and relaxed, blending it down. Okay. His nose is going to have some darker colors as well. So I'm going to use my brown, put that in there. His nostrils. Okay. Now under his eyes, we're going to also put some shading. So I'm going to start here and a little bit of brown on the corners of his eye and come down his face a little bit so that this part of his eye looks like it's shaded a bit. His eye is kind of poking out a lot, so it would come down, have some shade. This will also help define his eye from the rest of his body. On this painting, the eye is going to be the part that makes him look come alive. Right now it's just been kind of fun and haphazard, but his eye will have some definition and will make him come alive. So we're putting brown under the eyeballs. Let it blend. You don't want to have any stark lines under there. And bring it up over his eyeball too, on his eyelid. Again, if I'm going too fast, don't feel like you have to keep up. Nobody is on a timeline here. We have plenty of time. Just give yourself permission to take your time and stop it and start it as much as you need, okay? Putting brown in on his ears, using it as kind of a defining color. I'm gonna put it right here too on his ears. Ooh, that was a lot of water that I just put on there. Okay. He looks kind of creepy with his eyeballs missing. Whew, we better fix that pretty soon. All right. I didn't put any brown over this eye. Let's do that. Now we're just copying each other. I copied somebody that made a painting similar to this one. But I wrote an article on Patreon this week about something that artists talk about. There's a quote that says, mediocre artists borrow, but great artists steal. I know it sounds kind of crazy. But Picasso said it. People before him, Tchaikovsky said it. And just more recently, Steve Jobs made it kind of a popular saying. So I think it's worthwhile to think about what that means. When you look at the greats, when you study art history, you see that all of the greats copied each other first. They learned from each other. So the greats learn from the greats, and they do that by copying and copying and copying, looking at techniques, looking at brushstrokes, looking at the way, some of the techniques that they were doing in the Middle Ages, amazing, right? But then as you steal from others, from other greats, as we work together and we copy each other, and you're working with me and you're copying, you are learning what your own style is at the same time as you're copying. So whatever is coming out of you is not the same as mine. It is what you did. It's your interpretation of that painting. So of course there is such a thing as copyright, and there is such a thing as stealing work and pretending it's your own, or that kind of thing. And that's not good. But learning from other people who have gone before us in the past and even in the present, like modern paintings like this one, or other things that you like, there's nothing wrong with going in and trying to do what they're doing, trying to copy what they've done. And then as you do that, you're going to find your own style. But everybody does it. Every song that's ever been written is a variation of another song that's been written. Every time I go to write a song, I think, well, this has been sung before. And it's true, but doesn't mean that something new is going to come out of that, or that it's value. There's value for it to be in the world at this time. Yes, all of those things are true. So don't be afraid don't be feeling like, oh, well, I'm just copying. That's what the greats do. Okay, I kind of was messing around while I was talking, so hopefully I wasn't bothering people by putting paint when I wasn't talking. Um, okay, I think what we've got now is we need to go in with some black. I'm going to change my brush to a smaller brush. The number I'm going to use is, what is that number? A 2. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can be more precise. Okay, and I'm going to get my paintbrush wet and I'm going to go in with black. Now, black, when you're watercoloring, if you put a lot of water on it, it's going to look gray. If you want it to look black, it needs to have water, yes, but it needs to be pretty paint-filled water. So I really got a bunch of black paint on my brush. I'm going to go in first with the nostrils, and I'm going to go around the outside of the nostril. I'm going to kind of define that area. Go around the brown I put there. And I'm going to let that black just seep in to the area. Okay. I might add some more color to the nostrils as well. Just red or something. I don't know. That might look kind of gross. Ugh, I don't want to think about that. But it might look cool. Okay. Okay, now the other part that's black is his eyes. So, before we do the eyes, let's look at them real quick here. You see? So his eyes are all black mostly. I did add a little bit of brown. He has some white lines going around his eyeball on his eyelid, and then these white areas on his eye that are reflection light. Those I'm going to use my white brush or my white paint pen, or you could use white paint. If you don't have those things, we can try to keep those areas white just by not painting the black. So if that's a hard thing to do because the watercolors want to move wherever they want to move. But if you don't have a white pen or white paint or white out or something, let's try to use your black paint very wisely, and I'll try to do it with you so that you can have some little white areas, okay? So using a smaller brush will help us have more control. So we're going to go in with the black. And we're going to go into his eyeball area. Nice and slow. No need to go fast with this. This part is more detailed, so just let it be something that you're focused on and moving slowly. I'm going to leave a little bit of white there. I'm going to make a little circle of white there. See if I can keep those areas white. Now you notice, because I'm trying to keep the white for everybody, for people who don't have any, I'm going to make this a little bit rounded here and leave that part for a minute. And go up all the way to his eyelid here with the black. All right, kind of fill that in. Oops, I lost one of my white spots, you guys. Okay, I'm going to take most of the paint off of my brush, and I'm going to go in along this line here where his eyelid starts. I'm going to put some gray down because I took most of the paint off. Yep, so it's like a gray color. I'm going to let that come in here too. So a little inside part of his eye. This is much more detailed than I did earlier because I used that white marker. If you have a white marker, you can just make this whole area black. Okay. I'm trying to help facilitate the white paintless people. All right. So we have gray all around. We have some white areas. Okay, I'm gonna go in with even a smaller brush. This time I'm gonna use my number 0. If you have a small brush, they're really handy. If you don't, you have to go very slowly, and you can control a bigger brush. It's just harder, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go back in with more black, and I'm gonna outline his eye, kind of like eyeliner for those girls. If you're not a girl, I'm sorry. My husband said I can't use makeup as a, he said, us boys don't know how to do that. So I'm gonna go in with black along his eye so that it looks like eyeliner basically. And we're gonna make lines here and lines here. And I'm gonna go up over his eye like eyeliner as well. Oops. Okay. Now the fun part, the eyelashes. Eyelashes. Okay, so girls, this is mascara. Okay, so we're gonna go from his liquid eyeliner top of his eyelid, and we're gonna start right there at the very top of his eyelid, and we're gonna make a loop, nice, really light touch. You don't wanna push hard, you wanna let it be a really light touch so that those eyelashes look like they're hairs. Super light touch. And lift as you get out farther from the face. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is a girl, I don't know, but even if he's a boy, he's got some great eyelashes. I'm gonna put some lines here for his eyelid, just because eyelids have creases. So go all the way to the edge of his little eyelid there. Okay. And then we've got some personality starting to happen on this eye. Okay, now to move to the other eye. Now when you're doing faces, I just have to say, faces are probably the hardest thing. I did some paintings for a gallery showing exhibit this month, and one of the things I was really trying to do was paint faces. And I have to say I was successful in a couple of them, but most of them I was not successful. They looked like people, but they just didn't look like the people I wanted them to look like. They looked like somebody else. So I ended up doing a variation on my theme. But that to say, faces, our bodies, our brains are so wired to connect with people and to feel what they're feeling by looking at their face. And so we're very, very connected with what a face should look like and what it doesn't when it looks a little bit off, right? So that's the issue. And from one side to the other, my face is a lot different on one side than the other. We all have some of that going on in our bodies. But when they're really different, it makes it look funny. So from going from this eye to this eye, we want to make it as closely matched as we can. Okay, so we're going to go in with our black. I'm going to use this bigger number 2. And I'm going to go in with my black again, and I'm going to try to leave some white space over here. Oops, that's not very big white space. I'll probably go in with my white pen in the end, but I want to show you that it's possible to do it without. We're going to go all the way up to the top of his eyelid with this black and come down to a point. Fill all that in. Now this time I didn't leave a line here like I was going to. But if you don't have a white pen, you want to make this area right here kind of a circle like this over here, and allow for that space to be a little, at least gray and not black. Same thing down here. You want a line along the bottom. It looks a little bit gray. Okay, now I'm going in with my 0 brush, still black. Okay, and his little eyelid's poking out a little bit here. And it's going to go down this way, all the way up to the point. And this piece of his eye is kind of like a little shoehorn or something. And we're going to make that black. It's kind of like they were just born with eyeliner. Have you ever looked at your dog's eyes and thought that? I always think, man, it's perfect. Okay. I'm going to bring a little bit of this black down. For some reason, it feels like this area needs a little bit black. Okay. Not exactly the same, but similar. Okay. Now we're going to go in with the eyelashes. I'm going to move my paintbrush or my paper a little bit so I can reach this area a little bit better. So remember again, we're going to come right off of his top eyelid and we're going to come straight out and make some eyelashes with very light touch brush. Let it come straight out. Nice and light. He looks like he's got falsies. Oh, I can't get those to work. I have a friend, Mel, who does them really well. She always looks great. Mallory DeRazio. She knows how to do them. I'm always like, girl, how do you do that? I don't look the same when I try it. Okay, eyelids. We're going to have the same little brush and we're going to just come up and over so there's a little hint of eyelid creases. Okay, we've got his eyeballs. All right, so at this point in a painting, you can see, oh, it's starting to come together here. Now it's the time where you look around and you think, are there any other little areas that I think I would like to add little detail, or there's a spot that's not fully colored that I want colored. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to put a little bit darker color in here now that it's dry. I'm going to put some more purple in there. Just let it be darker. My purple kind of blended out. So I'm going to add a little bit more purple in there. Let it come down. Put the water on there. Let it blend. I think maybe I'll color in some of his. Okay. And like I said, I think I'm going to put a little bit of color in his nostrils as well. So a little orange or some red or purple maybe. Just to pull that color down there. So you want to think about, is your color dispersed in a way that kind of feels balanced? If you have one color in one area and not in any other area, sometimes it looks a little bit imbalanced. So to put a little bit of that color somewhere else just kind of balances it out. I'll put a little orange in there, his nose. That was yellow. I'm going to put a little more yellow on his nose. Yeah, so fun. Maybe his shadows need to be a little darker. Put some more brown on there. See how when you go back in after it's dry, it allows you to have a layer of color on top of what you already had put. So I sure hope you guys are having a good time. This one is definitely a different feel to it, maybe a little harder than what we've done, but I thought you could do it. I think you can. Yeah. That's fun. Okay, I'm going to use my paint pen. It's Artistro paint marker pen, extra fine point. And I'm going to use it just to add a little bit more reflection in his eyeball, a little bit more definition on his eye here. But really, that's about it. Maybe in his nostril a little too. Little hairs in his ears maybe. The cool thing about these paint pens is it actually is paint, and it, as you draw, it kind of seeps in with the other colors, and it doesn't look quite white. It definitely, like that turned light purple over there. It's kind of fun. I don't know. Some of that. And that's it. That's our little giraffe. Kind of fun, right? Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll still be monitoring your questions and looking at all your paintings as you share them. So I'd love to see them. Please just do that. And I enjoy just seeing everybody's. There's grandmas doing it. There's kids doing it. There's dads doing this. So I'm excited to know that we're all together and we're not alone. And this is a way that we can discharge some of that emotion that's going on in our minds right now. And also a way to put beauty into the world. Tomorrow, if you're interested, we're going to do this again at 1 o'clock. We're going to do a little fishy. I'll post the outline of this fish so that you can get ready for tomorrow, and I'll see you at 1 o'clock. Grace and wholeness and peace to all of you. Have a good night.